So guys, this is going to be a video that's just going to review the highlights of this PowerPoint. Feel free to go back and forth and review this as necessary, but you should watch this at some point in time. There's this really cool video that for time I'm not going to show you, but it shows a bunch of guys going through and doing graffiti in a warehouse. So that'll actually be on the PowerPoint. So in this sculpture, I was inspired by this project. I was inspired to do this project by a thing that I saw in Germany, and this right here is what inspired me for this project, is this particular graffiti that was coming out of the wall in 3D. Now, as you guys hopefully will know, graffiti is becoming more of an art form and is not so much just lettering anymore. So there are many types of graffiti that are not just words. There are actually graffiti that are quite beautiful, as you can see here with the example of the woman above and the gentleman. Instead of like being kind of an evil kind of guy, he's actually holding a bouquet of flowers, showing to, kind of a promote peace sort of thing. There are also graffiti artists such as Shepard Fairey that presidents have used in their ad campaigns to, publicize them being presidents. So graffiti has become more of a acceptable mainstream sort of art form. Now, you want to hop online if you're not familiar with graffiti and find some stuff that really inspires you. I really love the image on the left because it has this funky kind of cool art creature that's holding a pencil and a spray can, and the graffiti that happens to be behind it is called this wild style graffiti, which is one of my favorite types of graffiti, wild style. On the right, there is this graffiti artist called Retina, and he actually studied a whole bunch of different languages to create his own. And so I was really taken by the bold use of just black and white lettering on that. So this is going to inspire me to do my work, and you guys should find inspiration in the same type of way. Next, you're going to choose your letters or characters. Remember, it needs to be 5 characters. And again, you can use letters, or you can use numbers, or if you need to, you can throw in other things like hearts and exclamation points or hashtags, just nothing vulgar, nothing bad. In my case, it's pretty simple. I'm going to use Young, Y-O-U-N-G. That's 5 characters, so I'm good to go. Remember that it's going to be this 3D sculpture, so you're actually going to have to build it. They should have characters that are legible. I should be able to tell what they are. You will need to have some sort of color, texture, or pattern so I can tell like a little bit about the sculpture. Like, for example, if it said basketball, you could do things like orange and stripes and wooden, floors and nets and things like that. Or if you did, the Cleveland Cavaliers, it could have like the gold and the swords and the maroons and all those sort of things. You should also have one letter that stands out and is a clear focal point. I'm not going to go through this. You guys can read it on your own, but this is the Elements and Principle design. So here are some of the designs that you need to use: focal point, unity, mood, balance, and depth. Those are very important and will help towards your grade. And again, feel free to look stuff up on the web. If you are not comfortable writing in graffiti, there is no harm in taking some lettering and going ahead and tracing it and using that. Remember, this is not a drawing class. I would like for you to build the graffiti. So this is a good example of a graffiti sculpture. You can see that it says tigers, and it has tiger stripes, tiger eyes, tiger ears, and a tiger tail. So you can very clear that it says T-I-G-E-R-S. That's 5 letters, is good to go. So this is a good example of a sculpture. This is a bad example of a sculpture. It is very hard to see what each of the letters are. For example, it actually does say Morgan. That is very hard to read. It does not have a focal point. There is no theme, and everything is painted with this big splash kind of blotches all over it. So you just can't read everything behind all of the tones. So this would be a bad example of what not to do. Now, I will have passed out your worksheet, or if you're at home virtually, you'll need to get this worksheet and use the word T to start practice writing your word. I'm giving you these worksheets so you can practice. This is, again, not perfect. You should try to write your words. Sometimes you'll make a mistake. Sometimes you won't like it. You can try another word if you don't happen to like the word you're using. but try to fill the entire box. So the first thing you want to do is try to fill the entire box with the letters that you're doing. As you get better at it, your letters should become thicker and they should fill up the box completely. And number two thing, aside from filling up the box completely, is that your letters need to overlap. So you will need to overlap your letters, otherwise your sculpture will fall apart. So again, the words should fill up the box and your letters should overlap. You will need to do one final drawing in color, so you can use colored pencils or crayons, or you can even try to color it all on the computer and do this all digitally. However you would like is up to you. So feel free to just give me one color final version. That is the one that I will be using. And now I'm going to go over just a little bit about the clay notes. So this will be kind of fast again. I don't want to read over it, but I want to touch on just a couple of things. For those of you that are in class, you will be getting green clay. That is soft clay. That means you will be able to work with this clay, but it is very kind of moldable and wet. If you're at home, you'll be using air dry clay. Again, it will be moldable and wet. Please keep your clay in plastic bags to keep it this moldable, wet kind of green clay. If you're trying to if your clay breaks or you're trying to put it back together, you can slip and score it together. That means to rough up one side and use a little bit of paste made with clay and water to stick your two pieces back together. And again, if you're watching this PowerPoint presentation, there is an actual video of someone scoring and slipping. As your clay gets close to kind of being finished in the way you like it, you're going to want to leave it leather hard. Again, air dry clay and regular clay work the same way. If you leave your clay out overnight, it will start to change to leather hard clay. Now, the difference between regular clay and air dry clay is leather hard clay will take a little bit longer to completely dry out. Air dry clay, after 1 or 2 nights left out, that's why it's called air dry clay, it will harden up like a rock. But during this leather hard period, it will be easier to make some changes to your clay because it won't be so squishy. You will be able to smooth out your project a little bit and add some fine details. Now, you will have in your little kits some knives, and those are used to cut the clay. So you'll be able to kind of cut it into little pieces and put your designs on it. You also have some hollowing tools, and they are very important for you to be able to carve in and put detail, allowing some air to flow through so there won't be any explosions. So you can see here, that's what a hollowing tool looks like. And here is me hollowing out the clay. And the wooden tool is kind of used to smooth out all the dots and to make your clay, again, it's used to smooth, look nice and smooth. Please remember to work on the piece on the front size first. You will trace your letters onto the clay using a tracing paper, and I will provide that to you in class. If you're at home, you can just trace straight from one of your designs. You will carve halfway through the clay at first, so try to work on the front side like I said. Make sure to have the letters overlap with each other, and when you're finished on the front side of the clay, try to leather harden the clay and work on the back. Now, if you have any questions about this, again, feel free to email me, but try to watch this video. And again, the PowerPoint is provided for your review.